All right. Welcome, everybody, to the NWO show, your source for And That Broke Right Away. Solid. Absolutely solid start. Um, welcome to the NWO show. Naturally, that's got to happen every time we start the show. But
we get it sometimes, but every so often, like it's getting a little bit rarer and rarer these times. But like every so often, we fluff it.
We had an hour-long pre-show, and we get screwed by an update blocker. That's thank you, Steam DB. I appreciate that.
That's funny.
Good time. So, anyways, welcome everybody. We've got a jam-packed show. First, we want to talk about what we covered last week. Then we're going to get to talk about what we didn't get to cover last week because it hadn't made it in time. And the absolutely busy week that we've had since our last show, because there has been so many announcements. And of course, we've also had what is probably the most meaningful patch so far in terms of fixing many of the large-scale bugs that were causing all kinds of chaos in many game modes. So, with that, let's hit off with what we talked about last week. At this point last week, Tuesday, we were still operating on the patch 1.0.4, which the 1.0.5 was released the next day, or at least the patch notes for it were, and then the actual patch was the day after, and putting credit where credit is due, it fixed a lot more than it broke.
So because at this particular point, like last week, we were still in 1.0.4 hell, which essentially is what would be the word that I'd describe the game's being at that particular point. It was bug central, essentially.
Yes, it was pretty crazy how many people were. Or how many bugs there were, how many exploits there were. The gold duping was going through the roof. There were so many issues. But since then, we've obviously had some updates. We also last week we talked about server client authority, the programming behind that, the developer response to that conversation, the netcode and server infrastructure expose from a former AGS dev. So if you're interested in reading about that or seeing that, we had that in the prior show. Please check that out. It's worth taking a look at. You can catch the prior show on our YouTube, which I believe I've made it public by now. And of course, we had the Watermark dev blog, and we talked about the state of the game going into November, aka November started off real rough with a lot of bugs. So,
yeah.
I know so in the short term, what I want to take a quick pause and say is that the stream title says Prime Loot. So if you are looking for Prime Loot, you need to go to Prime Gaming. You need to have Prime, and grab your second part of the Robin Hood pack, which includes a bow skin, an emote, and some dies. Are you guys connected with the development team? No, we are not connected with the devs, although we are in the creator program, and we've been chatting and having a good time with AGS devs for a long time, but we are not officially connected to the development team. So
yeah, we've been along with the ride, like with when it comes to sort of the development of New World being a part of the various different alphas, but we're not actually connected specifically or in any way kind of employed by Amazon Games in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. In the past we have had a sponsored stream by them. But this stream is not sponsored. we do have, some things that we do tie in with them. Like, for instance, below the stream, you will find, Amazon affiliate links and, stuff like that. Obviously, we're on Twitch, so Twitch is an affiliate of Amazon, or it's a company that's owned by Amazon, I should say. So there's a few things on that front, but we're not part of the dev team. That's the important part of that answer. Want to make sure to cover that early, as a lot of people often confuse us with parts of the dev team because we have a tendency to know a lot more than we should and a lot more than the average person. This is because we have been immersed in the community for New World for the last 3+ years. This show is going on more than 2 years.
It's over 2. Yeah, it's over
We're almost 2 years. We're almost 2 years now.
It's almost,
which is insane. In January, we'll hit 2 years. So, keep in mind, we were able to have a talk show based around the game for the last 2 years while abiding by an NDA. So, imagine how difficult that is. Good times.
There were some dry episodes.
Yes. There were definitely some dry episodes where we were scratching the surface of, where do we go for, there's been no release in a month. Where do we go with this? But it has been a really good ride. We've of course enjoyed every minute of it. We're obviously very happy that the game has come out and that we've been able to kind of take the seat as what is now both the longest running talk show in New World, but also the largest talk show in New World. So you'll notice that we don't generally do Let's Plays on this channel. We basically leave it to news content and talk show content like this. So if this is the kind of content that you like, this is the kind of content that we want to deliver to you. So if you like it, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. We really do appreciate that. And of course, I also want to take a moment and thank, of course, our Patreons, our server boosters, which actually came in big handy today, where we had dropped below the 14 and lost our vanity URL for about an hour today. Before we had some people step in and really help us out on that. So that was huge. Much appreciated, everybody. And now that we're through the traditional streamer stuff, let's talk about New World. You guys know that obviously there's got to be something that pays the bills. So, cheers, thank you all. So, last week was crazy. We knew that they were trying to get additional stuff into 1.0.5, and 1.0.5 is a massive update. So size-wise, it was overall actually not that large, but what it changed and the bugs that it fixed were fundamentally changing how people played the game. You had massive use of the hatchet bugs, you had massive use of the bugs in Outpost Rush, the resilience gear had, that getting hammered back into the right place has literally put stress on the market in people trying to replace that gear and move to the new meta. It's actually a surprising amount of stuff that's happened, and it's really, really great stuff. So let's hit the high notes of what happened in 1.0.5. First and foremost, absolute first thing that they wanted to talk about are the gold sellers. Oh my god, there are so many people in Global, and I haven't seen one of them since.
I know, right? Like, Jesus, talk about like literally nerfing them out of existence.
Yeah, and this was actually due to two things that they did. Part of this was due to the change to family sharing, that the family sharing is no longer a capability on Twitch for New World. Doing that process, you basically could have a second account that wasn't really tied to your first account, but it was. because Steam had to associate it somehow, because that's how the license worked. The fun part there is that basically removed most of them, and enabled the actual account to get banned. And yeah, when you're not making enough money off of selling gold to pay for the $40 accounts per server, it's suddenly not a very profitable proposition. Which the new thing that's going on out there is that if you run a YouTube or a Twitch channel, they're reaching out to you and trying to have you promote buying and selling gold, which is a terrible idea and a great way to get banned. Not just on the game, but you can also get your Twitch account banned for promoting promoting problems within the Amazon family, basically. It's just not a great thing to do. Don't buy gold. You can get enough gold in game just playing the game. It's
that's
just
one
terrible.
of the things. That's one of the things with like a kind of a somewhat connected like ecosystem that Amazon kind of has going at the moment is, you know, if you are trying to do something against the rules, like the penalty for being caught and the potential kind of the potential penalties that they can leverage on you is so much greater than like just if it's just I don't know, like a single kind of a single environment or just like a single game environment, right? Like very much in the same way that Steam used to have like the their own obviously their own sort of like Steam bans and that kind of thing, like that would prevent you or would show up when it comes to playing other games on the Steam kind of platform. In the same way, it also they can prevent you from doing a bunch of other things on other areas that you may actually get a lot of value from. So it means that a lot that people wanting to do nefarious stuff actually have to really consider whether it's worthwhile doing, which is great.
Exactly. Now the other thing is they didn't just ban all of these people. That's too easy. They made it too difficult for these accounts to exist, which I think is actually the more artful fix here. Because if you just make it cost money, there's ways that they can generate enough traffic that they still make enough to pay for the accounts in that. So they changed this in a way that I wasn't expecting. So obviously they banned accounts, but they added restrictions to prevent player-to-player trading and currency transfer from characters under level 10, which is huge. So you can't just start a character, plow through missions, get a bunch of gold, and hand it off. Or if your account's less than 72 hours old. So, that's another change. Basically, if you're going to use the account for anything other than what it's meant for, they're limiting it, which is actually a really good thing. Logging in after your account is 72 hours old will enable your ability to trade and transfer currency once you've hit level 10. Redistributing coin value from some early quest to later in the main story quest line. This is aimed at Steam's refund policy, and the reason here is that you don't want to create a system where an individual or a nefarious body who's trying to gain gold and sell that gold can then turn around and say, I want, I'm gonna play 2 hours on this account, get to level 10, transfer the money, and make a bunch of money off of this, and then return it, and then use that money again, transfer that to a friend in some way, and transfer accounts and stuff. It becomes this whole mess of things, but reality is it's a very artful way of fixing a lot of the issues that were there. So that's really kind of a cool thing. trading post usage will be restricted until new characters accept the introduction to the trading post quest in their first settlement, which is actually really important as well. Basically, they're making it really difficult for bots and very difficult to automate this, that you're going to have to play on these accounts. You're going to have to play on them for a while before you can transfer that gold off. And at that point, they got you for the $40, and the second they find you for gold selling, they're gonna ban you, and you're gonna be out the money, which makes it a much more different equation from the business perspective of gold selling. I didn't want to dive too deep into that, but I think that explains about where I am on gold selling, and adamantly telling people, because if I don't say this, I'll hear about it for 3 weeks on Reddit. Do not buy gold. Done. End of sentence. Like, there's no like, well, you can get it from a reputable. No, none of that. There are no reputable sources in selling gold. It is against the terms of services for the game, and if you come crying to Reddit that you got banned for buying gold, sucks to suck. Like,
yeah, you're not going to find anybody. Yeah, you're not going to find anybody, who's compassionate about your situation, like, in any way, shape, or form. Like, you went and bought gold. Sorry, dude, but like, nah,
yeah,
not gonna happen.
Play the game. There are plenty of ways to make money in the game. Just play the game. So let's talk about exploits. The 1.0.5 was a huge patch for exploits, combat fixes, etc. Like, the duping bug specifically getting addressed and being able to iron that out was massive. Just massive. Fixing the issue of gold duplication on territory projects, that this is how my company, and before people quote this out of context, this is the issue that my company ran into when they disabled the gold transfer. They also disabled the ability to pay for outpost upgrades. So when you owned a settlement and you put in an upgrade, the game thought and gave you a message that said, hey, confirmed, you've selected this, but it didn't start it. But it also didn't take your money. But it had a confirmation message that, hey, this is your upgrade has started, go start, on the town board. Well, it then failed, and then in your memory, basically, when you logged out of the game and logged back in, all of a sudden you had more money in your treasury. So there was a way to accidentally dupe gold by just trying to put in upgrades. Like, it was a very, very bad thing. The second I saw it, I realized what was going on, because we put in like 20 grand worth of stuff, and very, very quickly realized what was going on, turned around to Amazon and said, hey, this is a problem. We left the money exactly where it was. Didn't hit any thresholds to get anybody banned or anything like that, but the money was then taken out of our account by Amazon Games, and we were back to being poor. So, yeah, the butterfly macro issue with the hatchet is a problem. Yes, 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like it's like animation canceling to its extreme. I'm not a huge fan of macros. Like, I honestly think that they shouldn't be allowed at all.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like we're going to get to this as well, but like in terms of macroing, because like one of the kind of where is it? Because it came up in the combat responsiveness devlog that's released kind of recently, but like essentially, Amazon discusses various different things in that combat responsiveness devlog, but you definitely get the feeling from there that animation canceling is part and parcel of what they feel is a very big kind of aspect of the intended combat mechanics to have. It's so in that kind of sense, if people are going to start macroing their ability to aggressively animation cancel, then I think that needs to be really looked at heavily by Amazon Games as to how egregious do people get before they start breaking things. And when it comes to macros, you shouldn't be using macros, and macros are against the terms of service. But the other kind of thing is how can another player tell if a macro is being used, or if the player that's that you think is using a macro might not be using a macro. They're just really good at hitting keys, for example. So
yeah, and the game really doesn't need macros.
No, it shouldn't.
Yeah,
but there's a skill ceiling when there should be a kind of an actual skill when it comes to being able to play this game at a higher level, and to some degree animation cancelling is part of that. It's just trying to find that kind of that point where it's a skill game, but you stop trying to prevent people from actually using macros to circumvent the skill.
Moving along on the patch notes here, we've also got updates to Life Staff, where it again got a subtle nerf, and it's still wildly powerful. I have a feeling it's going to get yet another nerf again coming up, because basically healing is substantially powerful, and it has been since God knows when, because hit points is everything. It's difficult to get back.
For sure.
And the Life Staff is a great way to do it. I think when the Void Gauntlet comes out as an anti-heal weapon, that I think is going to be a great counter.
Yeah, if it's gonna be how it's been touted to be from some of the data mined perks and all that kind of thing, passive perks and active perks and all that kind of stuff, like active abilities. It looks to be very much an anti-healing, putting a lot of debuffs when it comes to healing. So it could be something that you will see heavily utilized in 50 on 50 wars and in large scale open world PvP. I expect people to see a lot of use in that regard.
Yep. So you can virtually bet that they're going to address the double weapons again. So the identical weapon equipping that's being talked about in the comments section here right now. Players can no longer equip the same weapon type in both weapon slots. There is obviously a problem there. Apologies for the bot. The auto mod gets a little aggressive. Apologies ahead of time, because that was a good conversation to be having. The reality is they're probably going to have another swing at that, and there's always these nuanced scenarios where. And this is actually one of the reasons why PvP servers is never going to happen. And it's because there are so many nuanced scenarios where you need to come and go from an always-on flagged state for a bunch of different reasons. I know that sounds like a weird thing, but there are ways of editing your inventory without being in your inventory. And it's important to note that if something as simple as preventing people from equipping two of the same type of weapon is difficult, imagine how difficult it would be for some of these other much more complicated things. So just putting that out there. Some of the other really cool things that they did in this patch: reduce the attribute respec coin by 60%. I don't know where I got 30 from. Reduced weapon mastery respec Azoth cost by 75%, which basically means changing your character to do something else is now viable and consistently viable, especially pre-60. Post-60, it's really not an issue because Outpost Rush gives out so much gold, and Azoth, it's not even funny. From there, they're reducing the coin cost of chisels by 20 to 50% depending on the tier, which is going to lower the cost of expedition orb crafting pretty substantially. To encourage competition in Outpost Rush, they've slightly reduced the coin and Azoth rewards for the losing team, which means if you stand there and do nothing and AFK the whole time, that some people were doing, because winning or losing would get you like 300 gold. Now it's reduced. If you lose, you're now getting like 100 and something to 200 something instead of the 300. So it's actually worth winning. So they fixed the bloodlust issue and the against all odds outnumbered on a Warhammer and all of those, so that they basically didn't permanently stack. So like the against all odds one was the hatchet bug, and basically what happened was when you had more than 2 people around you, you gain against all odds is supposed to have you gain a, say, 10% additional damage per additional person around you. So makes sense. So if you have 15 people around you, you're now a god and you're dealing a ton of damage. Well, if there's no longer that group of people around you, that's supposed to go away. It wasn't. So you basically, if you stacked it up over time and it continually stacked on itself up to some pretty ridiculous size, you could be dealing 3.5, 4k damage per swing to a random guy that you ran into in the middle of nowhere, by yourself. So, surprise. Real happy they fixed that. So that's a huge one. The resiliency perk, resilient item perk, basically it was reducing all damage instead of just critical damage. So it made it like the go-to perk, which everybody's now switching off of. Unless you find yourself going against a bunch of mages, which then all of a sudden having crit protection is actually still valuable.
Yeah, it is.
Because crit stacking on fire and ice is actually insane at the moment. So let's see. PvP flagging. They fixed an issue that allowed PvP and PvE players to heal each other, which is great. They fixed so much with Outpost Rush. Like, fixing a staircase in Outpost Rush that allowed people to get out was huge. Absolutely huge. There's a ton of other things that they fixed, some tooltips around the foods and that are available in the game. The brute bug, where if you had 6 people all try and turn in the last bit of the brute 500 Azoth to get a brute token, summoning token. All 5 of them would get the token, or all 6 of them would get the token, which you then only needed to do the thing once, and you had every fort covered with your brutes, and you basically won the game because brutes are still overpowered, but they're much, much less often now. Yeah. So
yeah, thankfully those brutes aren't like ubiquitous everywhere on the maps anymore, which is great.
Yeah, there's obviously one of the things I want to say is there's still bugs. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but the game is infinitely more playable than it was before. Not that it wasn't playable before, but if you were playing at a competitive level, you were playing with a hatchet because everybody was playing with a hatchet and they were all swinging for 4K, and somehow the healers were still keeping up. As a side note, healing is broken. Please fix. So a whole bunch of other things that they aimed to fix, and like 1.0.5 as a patch was massive. Like in terms of turning the tide of public opinion, it went from the game is doomed to, oh hey, this is actually pretty good. Like literally this, like, because I'm a subreddit moderator, like, and I'm not saying that from a perspective of any kind of power or anything like that, because there isn't any. It is the shittiest job you can volunteer for.
I've seen some of the other side, and it is really, really bad.
Yeah, it is not worth the no pay.
No.
Like
it's not worth any of the positives or pros that you could ever see or ever think that there would be with being a Reddit mod. Just get completely blown out of the water with all of the negatives. It's just so bad.
And it went from like the subreddit was on fire with the game is dead, it's truly awful, and like all of the shittiest people come out of the woodworks when that happens. So like the amount of work that was is enormous. And then you turn around and like right now it's calm as can be. In fact, since that patch, the amount of people calling me a Nazi on the subreddit in our DMs for the thing has gone down 100%. Like we've actually been getting positive feedback into our box, which is a really strange feeling. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Oh, good times. So anyways, just from a public sentiment perspective, it was really kind of funny. The sausage post that the automod pulled down was pretty comical. It caused a whole bunch of fun threats to the mods, and there was some really stupid crap that happened last week. Thank God for this patch is all I have to say. Like, actually legit 1.0.5 was a make or break point, and Amazon stepped up to the plate and hit it out of the park. Like, yeah. So the other part of this is that Amazon came out with an update on current issues. This was huge, because this right here says everything that the player base has been talking about. Like, truly a massive amount of stuff here. Everything from talking about character transfers, where they recognize the issue still that, hey, we're also still working on the region-to-region character transfers, but it's difficult to solve and it's going to take a little bit of time. That's a good thing for them to admit. Obviously they dug themselves a hole on that, and it is something that does need to happen. Full server status, the economy and deflation, they talk about gold generation, the whole works. They understand they understand the economy and are paying attention to the economy, which is really kind of cool. A lot of what they're talking about is great stuff. They hint at, in this part, and this is actually, most people dipped past this because it's the economy section. In our November major release, not a weekly patch, we have a slew of economic focused updates and bug fixes aimed at improving the state of the economy. So for those that don't know, sometime in November, which if you do your math is either going to be next week or the week or the week after Thanksgiving, because the odds of them doing it on the week of Thanksgiving are not very likely. You know, and that's going to be a major release. It should come with some kind of content beyond just updates. I don't think they're going to move the level cap yet, based on what I've seen, but it wouldn't surprise me if in the future they did. Reduce durability loss from PvP deaths by 10%, extending housing tax periods from 5 days to 7 days, thank God. Without increased taxed amount, thank God. Reduced attribute respec coin by 60%, reduce the quantity of honey gained from apiaries by 50%, and the amount of milk from cows by 65%. Honey trees are unaffected by this change. Milk and honey was all over the place. Like, that's how I made
milk
it.
And
to
honey was
200
all over the
cooking.
place. Yeah, like the way that you could use milk and honey in various ways to sort of like smash through those cooking kind of levels was a little bit kind of broken. But then again, who didn't get tracking and scaling to 200 super fast anyway as well, right? But I think the thing that a lot of people were very, very vocal about in terms of praising Amazon games is the reduction in the respecking costs, and also the respecking your weapons, weapon masteries as well being reduced. Like a lot of people are like very happy about that, because I think it was a little bit too expensive, like back at the previous sort of prices. So and I'm really, really glad about that.
Yes. So that's some good stuff there. One of the other changes, all trading posts are going to be linked. This change was made to strengthen the economies of less traveled territories and ensure item availability in all territories. Fees for buy and sell orders are defined by the settlement that you're posting them from. Transactions, taxes on purchases you make are defined by the settlement in which you are making the purchase. So that's a huge change that is going to mean great things for people like me and McLeod, who own Cutlass Keys. Our territory is now actually going to be worth something, and it might actually generate a net positive revenue.
Well, I mean, let's not sort of jump to conclusions here, but like, I'd like to see that. Yeah, fair enough.
I would like to be able to generate enough revenue to have more tier 5 stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
We're basically at the point where we put in a couple of upgrades, wait to see what we lose in the invasion, and then put in the 2 upgrades that got lost, and that's all the money we have.
Yeah, that's about that. That is about right.
Yeah.
You know what would help with that is fixing, the what is it, the town upkeep kind of missions. That would also help that a lot.
Yes, the town upkeep quest should actually do something to reduce the town upkeep cost. Right now it doesn't do anything, and as a governor, I'm sitting here going, why are people throwing money at this if like the only thing you're getting out of it is... What are you on? Relax. Oh? Relax.
Random doggy interjection.
Yeah. And of course, the town boards, like, unless you're, basically trying to help grind for getting an upgrade back, the town boards after level 60 just really aren't that useful. So providing some kind of way of reducing the cost of the town upkeep would be a good way to keep level 60s involved, so that they're able to go do something.
And Kalman did touch on something that I wanted to actually say as well, is like if you're grinding standing for territory standing for certain things, like say if you want to get that large house that requires like some significant standing, then like town boards do help with that. But like, it's the amount of standing that you get for some of the missions there is some of the missions is a little low. But if you had some good standing kind of gain with the with the town upkeep missions as well, with the town upkeep stuff, as well as actually having the town upkeep reduce the amount of upkeep that governors have to pay to keep the town ticking over, kind of thing. That would be really great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's going to be a big one if they choose to go down that road. So items listed in the sell orders that expire are returned to the settlement in which they were posted. So this is also going to make buying and selling stuff on the market much easier, and easier to kind of like split where stuff is, because let's say you're down in Cutlass Keys and you decide, hey, I've got this extra stuff that I want to put up on the market. Somebody in Windsward, which is Windsward or Everfall, are generally the market centers. They can still buy it there, or somebody up in Morningdale now has all of that availability to buy that item. And they might need it up there. So that to me is actually a really good change. I really like that. It removes some of the gameplay of like, oh, I can get it for this in this outpost and move it over here to sell it for this much. So there's a little bit less of the gameplay that I'm more traditionally involved in. That's what I used to do in EVE Online, and that's how I retired a trillionaire in EVE. Was literally buying low and moving it to a market where I could sell it for 2 to 3 times its value. And yeah, worked really well.
Yeah, so I think part of the issue that Amazon Games kind of is trying to help with this is like sort of like the trickle up kind of economic sort of environment that has been somewhat sort of developed around Windswood and Everfall, right? Like that's the thing, when groups that own those kind of those sort of settlements are generating that kind of money from taxation and that kind of thing, like aside from putting making sure that their cities are upgraded to the max and that their forts are upgraded to the max, like there's not really a massive amount of things to spend that money on in that regard, and so in that kind of sense, that money that is made doesn't trickle back down to other people, to just the general mass kind of thing. So it's basically it's going the wrong way. The money's going up into sort of the ivory towers as such, and so obviously this is their kind of way of correcting that, and hopefully that will be the case. I just kind of feel like it's sort of like I kind of wish I kind of wish that they would explore a few other kind of options rather than just completely killing off the ability to find a kind of niche little market and make sort of a good profit in certain areas, right? But I kind of feel like maybe it's to coin a phrase, it's sort of like throwing the baby out with the bathwater in that regard. You've dealt with the problem, but you've lost a really cool thing at the same time. So it would be nice to keep that ability to do to make sort of like a nice profit in certain areas by exploiting the market and finding these little kind of areas where you can make some good money from the marketplace. But sort of now, because everything's well, not now, but like when the feature comes, when everything's connected, like it's going to be there's not going to be anywhere to hide. But the other kind of thing is obviously the money that is made in Windswood and Everfall is probably going to be distributed a little bit better, so that's great.
Absolutely. So it's definitely I personally see it as a great changes to this. There's follow-on effects for this, which are going to make people shift where their housing is, because now that you don't need to be in a market center to buy and sell stuff, you can buy and sell stuff from wherever. Having your housing in appropriate areas that enable you to move around the map quickly is actually going to be very important, or I think it's going to take more of a precedence than it currently does. For instance, my plan is maintaining my house in Windsward, because that'll be my southernmost house. And then I'll likely pick up a house in Morningdale and Evansgill Reach. So I've got kind of a 3-corner, triangle, and can get pretty much anywhere really quickly. And the Evansgill one is, of course, because Brimstone Sands is, going to be immediately above Evansgill, and is the new zone that is coming soon.
TM.
Little leak for people there. We don't know when it's coming. We don't know if it's going to be this patch or a future patch, but it has been talked about a lot. There's been a lot leaked. There has been a lot of stuff that many people might not have seen that's also leaked about potential upcoming content. For those that want access to that kind of stuff, in terms of some of the data mined content, but also some of the stuff that we know, if you subscribe to the channel, we have a channel that generally has kind of up-to-date news in it, and some of the more special news. For instance, we dropped I'm gonna start talking about this stuff because we dropped that there's going to be 6 new expeditions, and the names of those expeditions, we actually talked about them in the pre-show as well. Several of them in the Great Cleave, one of them being added to Cutlass Keys, Restless Shore, Shattered Mountain, and the one in Brimstone Sands. That's gonna be big stuff right there. There's code that has been found about food for horses, equipable saddle, and equipable bridles.
Are those pies by any chance for those horses?
Wow, we don't know the actual item. We know the e-item class code.
I really hope that somebody out there actually gets that reference, because that isn't a new world. That isn't a new world reference. That is actually a Rust reference, and I hope somebody gets that. But yeah. Sorry, I interjected there and really put you off there.
So the other thing is from a PvP perspective, there's a PvP arena where it's possible to fight against other players and collect points of some kind. Just putting that out there. These are not guaranteed for the upcoming release, but they're based on what we've seen, are relatively close to feature complete. The mounts being much further down the road, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But for anybody who's ride or die on the whole mounts question, in a game built around cosmetics as a primary source of income, you bet your ass you're gonna see mounts come in. You got to see that one coming.
Oh, for sure. And that should be interesting. There should be. Hopefully, there's some really interesting gameplay there. That'll be really cool.
Yeah. If anybody's caught off guard with mounts coming, then I'm sorry, but that's the inevitability of creating customizable items. Mounts are fun. Mounted combat is always fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they can add in jousting. That'd be fun.
I think the jousting would be really cool. I kind of, and also it would be really cool kind of thing to do as for dueling, right? I mean, you could. It's. I'm literally seeing, medieval fair style thing going on. But honestly, I think when it comes to mounts, I think a lot of people have some negative experiences with mounts in other games. I'm fairly certain that the Amazon game is going to try and find some good and understandable and reasonable, in-game activities and in-game reasons to have mounts, aside from just, it's pretty and allows you to get to places faster.
Based on their conversation with Sir Medieval several months back at this point,
Yeah.
They were looking at doing mounts, but they don't want to do it in some like just shoehorned way that is some kind of some kind of easy way. They want it to feel natural. They want it to feel like it's a good way of doing it. They don't want it to be some stock system that's just like I think we're going to see a very creative implementation of mounts when or if it comes, because they haven't guaranteed that yet. But having seen new code for it recently, that's a potential. So yeah, continuing on the update from the devs here, economy exploits and coin farming. Basically, hey, we've done a number of things. They have done a number of things to fix it. They're on top of it. They understand the concerns of the player base on that front. Outpost Rush obviously didn't launch in a great state, but is now many of the tickets are being resolved. That there was an issue where people got stuck in kind of like an infinite queue state, where they had to have a dev reset their account to put them in one place or the other, which was a rough thing to happen. But that has since been fixed. The client-side authority, which is not a thing. They go in to explain that New World is not client authoritative from a simulation standpoint.
Very important thing to know, actually.
They talk about moderation, things that they're aiming to do. A lot of the complaints out there have been that like their support teams don't seem to be on the same page as their developers, don't seem to be on the same page as X, Y, and Z. It's good to see that hey, there is a good way of doing this, and that they're. I've actually seen a job posting relating to basically being a link between the development team, the support teams, and the in-game moderation teams. So yeah. From there, war lag. Obviously, that's a huge issue for many people. When you get to the point where all of a sudden you see everybody just standing there on the point, as if nothing's happening, the simulation is still happening in the back end, and people are still moving around. They're just not moving around, and it's not translating the information like it should. But that is a huge problem that they've noted that, hey, we need to fix this. Wars need to be in a better state. Invasion difficulty and participation. Right now, almost nobody wins invasions. They're very, very hard. I think we make it to the last wave pretty consistently. I don't know how we did tonight, but we make it to the last wave pretty consistently, where we've got sub 3 minutes left, and there are 10 brutes and spriggans and bears and champions, and just everything is in our base at that point.
Admittedly, I wasn't on comms for that particular invasion, but I don't know about the other groups, but we held our kind of area.
Apparently, we died on wave 2.
Yeah, whatever. Well, no, so some other group and some other group, let people in, and we we failed in wave 2, but I'm just saying my group and our particular gate was fine.
Yes.
So I did my job.
Yeah, it's not an easy mechanic. It requires a high level of working together. There's some other issues that we've been raising for a long amount of time here about basically companies are throwing people out of their invasions if they're not in the same faction, which I think it's bull. We don't as a practice, we don't do that because it's an invasion. Like 99% chance of us losing it anyways. So, who cares? And it lets us make some friends with some of the purples and greens. So, yeah. So, patch schedule and downtimes, they talk about, EU Prime has been shafted a couple of times by patches that take longer than normal, but they are trying to move these patch times around so that it's not always one time zone that gets shafted by patch time every Wednesday. Or, in the instance of the last couple of weeks, it's been delayed. So for people who think we're getting patch notes tonight, we're not. Instead, we got news on the public test realm, which is huge.
Oh yeah, and what's going to be it?
Talking about how luck works. Fishing chests, which were a source of gold for gold farmers, because you could basically just constantly bot fishing and end up with just a crap load of gold from the fishing chest. So basically they removed the gold from, or you can still get gold bars, you can't get gold coins. The fact that a gold bar is worth way less than a gold coin is a ridiculous statement to make, but alas, is what it is.
Well.
Perks and gems. Somebody mentioned at the beginning of the show, amber gems. Yes, they're still broken. Amber gems, carnelian gems. Some of the equipment's not functioning correctly, so T2 gear in some instances at level 60 is actually more powerful than tier 5 gear. Didn't hear that from me, but the 250 strength bug, that is also an issue. Basically, this is a list of everything that they've heard from the community that they view also as priorities to fix. Faction tokens have been a source of pain. They want to increase the token caps. World clock bugs, there's a ton of them. Images in chat, the crouching bug, which was rapidly fixed, which was referred to as heel bagging, where you could rapidly crouch, uncrouch, and if you were standing on any AoE effect, including damage effects, it would apply to you again. So if you were on a fireball and you rapidly were crouching up and down, you took much more damage than you were supposed to, or if you were standing on a healing area, you also took much more damage or you gained more health than you were supposed to multiple times. So it's pretty comical. Yeah. So let's see. From here, the watermark system. There's an entire dev blog on the watermark system itself. Basically, a lot of this is worth reading. I'm gonna put this in the comments, or because this is actually like, if you guys get a chance, read this. There's a ton of stuff in the developer corner that they've been releasing on like how some of these more difficult and complex systems work. So there are many people out there that are like, HES isn't talking to people. They're not giving any information. If you're on the forums, there's also a part that literally has I'll pop out to the dev tracker. You can see that like they are continually entering threads and being part of the conversation and creating threads that describe systems. So if anybody's saying, hey, they're not talking and they're being really silent about things, like they're just wrong. Like, they've been engaged in the conversation. They've actually, in my opinion, been doing a lot better in the last few weeks than they were doing immediately post-launch, because I think they got buried at launch. Additionally, they recognize that their communication needs to improve. And I have stated this publicly a number of times. As one of the larger talk shows, given we're a live format show and we specialize in providing information-based content, if any AGS devs feel like coming on at any point in time, Greg has my number. I'll open
at this point. I actually think he probably does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Knowing you.
There's definitely like we would be more than happy to do that. And yeah, so that's their update on the current issues. Obviously, they see a ton of things as problems that the player base sees, and they doubled down onto some of these recently. As of 22 hours ago, they released the Combat Responsiveness dev blog, which basically talks about weapon swapping, dodge cancels, and the attack input windows. Which is basically all about animations. All about animations. Yes. Like if you don't finish the animation for weapon swapping, you default back to your previous weapon. So yeah. And your UI might lie to you and say you have the wrong weapon up.
This has called me out so many times. Like, honest to God, like this catches me out constantly. Like, you know, I'm in the middle of something and I'm not like, I'm not looking for the cues because I'm expecting it to work in a certain way, and you know, I'm suddenly there like not slicing through people with my great axe. Mm-hmm. I'm there like, you know, plinking people with a life staff, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, you know,
trying to land that clutch AOE heal on your guys when all of a sudden you turn around and you know, instead of landing your heal, you land your great axe charge. You know, like the worst case scenario.
And then I'm entirely out of position and like likely to die because now I don't have my great axe charge to get me out of dodge, for example. Like, yeah, you can see how you know, weapon swapping, the way that it is at the moment, is a little bit awkward when you're in the moment and you don't quite like realize that you went to weapon swap and it didn't actually do it.
Yeah. The worst part is your UI will sit there and be like, yeah, you totally have your life staff out. And it's like, that's definitely not my life staff. That's definitely my great axe. Like 100% my great axe.
Yeah.
So those are all things. If you guys want to see this is of course also on the forums in the developer corner. I'm going to link it in the chat there. Again, valuable thing to read through to understand kind of what they're aiming for. And like, it's this kind of stuff that them being open about, hey, this isn't working the way we intended. Here's the priorities for us to fix related to the combat system.
The nice thing about it though as well with this with this you know, this dev corner as well, and them opening up about how, you know, how they feel that the system should function, is now players also get the idea as to, okay, this is what you intend for this system, and we can now kind of say whether our experience with the system, you know, gels with what the devs are saying as well about it. Right, so we can now provide them with, I think, probably better feedback as to, you know, whether what they're trying to get a system to do and what it actually is doing in game, you know, in the wild, whether that's actually happening or whether it's whether something's going wrong, you know, in between, which is really good. I think that's a really good thing.
Yes. I want to take a moment because there's a whole bunch of people that joined. And I want to talk about the Prime Gaming, Prime Loot. If you have Amazon Prime, please go collect the second part of the Robin Hood pack. It's free it's free as long as you have Amazon Prime. You know, if you happen to also have Amazon Prime, there happens to be a thing called a Twitch Prime sub that you get one per month free. So if you see that option below on this particular channel, feel free to, if you enjoy the content, of course, smash that button and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's still the 250 strength bug is still something that they haven't smashed yet. I think it's one of those things that it is definitely on the list because they definitely know about it. They've posted about the fact that they know about it. I think there's a few things that are taking priority over it in comparison, but like chances are they are going to get to it, and they're going to, you know, they will they will smash into it and sort it out at some particular point. But yeah, they're just saying, like, their 1.0.5 patch was fantastic with regards to solving a lot of very, very punishing kind of bugs that were in the game. But they ain't done yet. There's still definitely a lot of bugs out there that they still need to fix.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much for all
yes.
the primes, by the way, guys.
Thank you, guys. Also, we got a hype train going.
Yay!
There we go. Let's unlock some emotes.
Nice.
So additionally, when you click into the Prime Loot page there are 3 more drops scheduled for this year. So the November 23rd is the Autumn King Pack 1, December 7th, which is the Autumn King Pack 2, and December 21st, which is the Thespian Pack. So there is clearly some good stuff to have there. Continue to watch that. It might be a good time to get your Amazon Prime sub renewed, and of course with Christmas coming around,
I have this strange feeling that the Thespian Pack might be Greek related or Greek themed. Just saying.
It very well could be. So the other part to this is, I personally think that the drops have been really good. The skins have been really good. I'd like to see more in-game armor sets or a transmog system so that you can have consistent sets based on stuff that you've already found. I would like to see stuff like that so that skins are not as valuable as they are, because right now you can do a lot with a skin. You can make yourself look really small, you can make yourself look really big, and a skin hides a lot of things. Like wear light armor, but wear a giant skin that makes you look like you're wearing heavy armor.
There's a little bit of that, which is kind of a little awkward. I'm not going to lie, that there is some aspect of putting skins on that really makes what you're actually wearing very very misleading, right? So fixing that might, or at least augmenting that so it's not as bad might be worthwhile. I also would like to see this is just a personal kind of thing, but I also would like to kind of see that if we could use some kind of the sort of paints and that kind of thing. I haven't. This is the point. I used to use them, but I haven't used them at all. Since the game launched, that I've even forgotten what they're freaking called. But I'd like to actually change at least to some degree, change the colors of some things, of some of the skins that I've bought. Would be really, really cool. Even if it is just temporary. Yes. That'd be fantastic.
Also, we've got new news. We talked a little bit about this in the pre-show as well, but we're finally to it in our patch notes. Announcing the public test realm, which means patches likely after this are not going to be launched directly to the server. They're going to be launched to the test realm, which is then going to be a place for the community to help test new content and patches to ensure that they are ready to hit the live game.
And you know what?
That's not a prepared statement. That's just how public test servers generally work. It's the same process for Star Citizen and same process for literally every game in existence.
I'm glad that they have. I'm glad that they're now coming out with a public test realm, basically a test server, right?
Yes.
The other thing is, I only literally just finished doing my the final draft of the public test realm article for New World fans. Literally waiting for it to get approved, but yeah. Literally just finished it and right, let's talk about public test realm.
Mm-hmm. So, this is obviously big news. Additionally, I think it's interesting that they tease with the artwork that's used here. For those that don't know, that is not an ice gauntlet. That is a void gauntlet.
And you know what?
He's also wearing void bent armor.
There's a picture of the Void Blade. That is one of the sort of formulations for the Void Gauntlet to do damage, and it does hint at like some other thing that I'm sure I've seen on another game. I can't quite put my finger on it though. I don't know whether you will be able to. Well, I'm saying this with a lot of irony because it looks very much like something that I think most gamers will, very clearly identify.
Oh yeah.
It's in this. It's further down.
So, public test realm,
Anyway.
as we stated, public test realms are huge. Like, this is going to enable the
Yes.
community to be more of a part of the actual testing, which will allow them to find bugs like duping and stuff like that earlier on without launching it to the live game and causing the damage that people are bound to cause there. Simply put, there's nothing bad about this news. This is very good practice and very, very good for them to do. It's timely in that, of course, the initial patches that they had to do to the game in order to get it to balance and out of an emergency state were necessary to go rapidly into the game. We're now at a stage where the game has stabilized. It still has bugs, it still has problems, but it is in a position now where they can take a little bit more time, fix issues, but make sure that by fixing those issues, they're not causing more issues. Because that's really what got them in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So yeah. By the end of today, everyone with a copy of New World will find the New World Public Test Realm application in their Steam library. Downloading this standalone application allows players to access and check out the latest preview version and provide feedback. Public Test Realm servers will be officially open tomorrow, November 10th. Servers are limited at the start, and there will be one world available in US East and one world available in Central Europe. So that's a big thing. I didn't scroll that. I don't want to give it away yet.
Also, you didn't tell me that that I needed to flip my my camera. I was literally looking away all this time, like the wrong direction. Anyway, sorry.
Whoops. So obviously, while you're on the test server, they want you to find bugs. They want you to find those things. They want you to report them. The test server.
Yes.
And let me like close up style this. The test server is the location for you to try and exploit the crap out of things. But tell the devs about it.
Yeah.
Capiche?
If you like, yeah.
Like,
if you like to find exploits, that's the perfect place for you. But like, the deal is, if you do find it, post about it.
Exactly.
And there's actually there's a new section of the forum specifically relating to the public test realm.
Exactly.
As well.
So, let's talk about the new weapons. New weapon, I should say. There are two others in works, but the Void Gauntlet is officially being added to the game soon.
And that's a picture of the Void Gauntlet being used using the I think it's the Void Blade.
Mm-hmm. Which to me it looks like a combination of Halo and like Cassidy
That's
League
exactly
of Legends.
So that was the first thing that I thought. I was like, that definitely looks like the energy sword, the energy sword from Halo, right?
Yeah,
like
it's definitely inspired by that. Yeah,
but but the thing is, it's always been a really cool thing in Halo, and people have always liked it. So why not?
Mm-hmm.
Like people. That's the thing. Like maybe people would be like, oh, they've just copied the energy sword kind of thing. Well, honestly, people get inspired by lots of different things, and it's hard as a creative to not get inspired and create things that are that look similar to it. Things
somebody in chat needs to build more pylons. Um, although I got that reference too. So I actually like the other one would be Kassadin from League of Legends, is what it really reminds me of as well. Because like obviously Kassadin is void damage. I forget what his
there you go as
phrase is, but like, of which I'm going to take a moment because I watched this the other day and I feel like I would be doing a disservice to people if I didn't say anything about it. League of Legends has dropped a new animated series. The first 3 episodes are out on Netflix right now. Like, my all-time favorite anime used to be Avatar: The Last Airbender. It has now been dethroned by just the first 3 episodes of this new series. If you have Netflix, go check it out. It is really cool. It is very, very well done. As somebody who is a recovered League of Legends player that I used to play addictively for years, and haven't played in years, I love the lore of it. It's like, I think it's like League of Legends Arcane.
It's Arcane.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I love that it's aimed appropriately at the age group that plays League of Legends, the 20s and 30s. It's not aimed for kids. I'm not saying that the Avatar: Last Airbender isn't a great show. I'm just saying that it's more of a kids show than it is aimed appropriately. And I love the lore of League of Legends. So just putting that out there. Had to say something. I saw it the other day, and I was like, it is too good to pass up.
I don't think those particular episodes or that particular series is going to encompass the quality chat experience that you get in League of Legends. So,
yes,
kind of don't think it's going to happen.
Yes, League of Legends, the one game that's supposed to be 5-on-5, but realistically, it's about 8-on-2. And you're always on the side with 2. 2 guys, 1 AFK, and 2 that have never played before. So simply put, sorry, I got distracted because the image to me represents very close to what Kassadin looks like, and connecting things. So that's huge. Void Gauntlet is going to make its way in. I'm very, very happy about that. The Decay Tree offers ranged healing debuffs and revolves around Orb of Decay, a dual phase projectile that can debuff enemies and heal allies.
So I talked about. Yeah, I think we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show, right? And that's the tree that's the side of the tree that essentially I was talking about being, basically being very being quite a force to be reckoned with when it comes to 50-on-50s and open world, group PvP as such, because the ability to, completely screw over people, like your enemy's ability to survive and persist, say for example on a point, while healing your allies as well, it's a game changer. It's literally like, it's a reversal. It's like it's like in it's like in dodgeball when one of the team catches the ball and you just like, it's a flip.
Yep. So there's going to need to be, like, for wars, there's going to be part of the meta that you're going to have to balance the amount of heals and Void Gauntlets, so that you can reduce their heals while making your heals more effective, because it also does apparently heal your people, but makes it harder for the enemy to heal. And there's going to be kind of this interplay between the two, which is, I think, going to be really nice.
It's also the first natural hybrid intelligence and focus weapon. Obviously, you can force an intelligence hybrid kind of intelligence and focus hybrid by using a gem, but this was the first natural set hybrid between intel and focus.
Mm-hmm. So new missions and mobs. We got more news.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is, by the way, guys, this is only like halfway down this page, so like there's a lot more here.
There's some cool
Basically-
stuff here. Like there's some lore-based stuff here. Which is kind of interesting. It might not be, and it's not 60 level 60s based. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's all level
Southern
60
Shores.
kind of content, but it's
That's
not.
gonna be
like,
by us.
there's some cool stuff. Yeah, I know. So there's some
Nice.
interesting stuff coming down to the southern side of the map.
Yeah. One of the most common complaints, especially about the early game, is that you fight the same stuff over and over again. When you get to the later game, that changes. Additionally, the mobs become substantially more difficult at the later game. You know, for instance, at the late game, the mobs you're going against more often than not will chug a health pot, which is an infuriating experience after you've spent 5 minutes burning down their health for them to gain back 75% of it by chugging a health pot. And you're like, son of a...
I'm always at the point where like I see that and I'm like, quick, DPS the fuck out of him, DPS him down so he doesn't get the health pot. Like,
oh no, it's not DPS.
It
You need to CC them when they go to do that. You hit the
Oh,
CC
cool.
because
That's
it's like,
probably
no,
what
you
I'm
were
doing
not allowed
wrong.
to drink that pot.
No.
Oh yeah, so that's going to be good to see. A new faction, basically.
Well, it's not a new faction. It's
I
just kind of
can't
like
pronounce
it's a new
the
Varangian.
Varangian Raiders.
Varangian, like I don't know whether it's Varangian or Varangian. Like it could be a g or a j sound. Like I don't know. Like it could be either. We'll see.
Varang-en.
I mean, if the V is actually meant to be pronounced an F, it could be Ferengi. Yeah.
So, enemy variety. Reinforcements have arrived. Be on the lookout for new enemies across Turnham, such as the Withered Swarmmancer. Interesting. Beetle, the Lost Shaman, Pirate Alligator. Is it a pirate? Is it an alligator with the patch over its eye? Because like
I'm just thinking like
that was my first image in my head.
It's either a patch, it's got a pirate hat on, or it has like a parrot on its shoulder, or even the best one is if it has like a peg leg.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
It's got one wooden leg. Ancient Guardian Pyromancer. And enhanced corrupted laborers. Oh god, they're giving them more. Corrupted laborers are the ones that chug pots, by the way. So like, there's a reason that I'm like, oh no.
They're already enhanced.
They're not particularly difficult to kill. The problem is they've got a lot of health already, and more is added to it.
Yeah, they don't have a weapon anymore. They just chug health pots. You can't actually kill them.
Interesting. I got a wiki page for this. Varangian Guard is apparently a Roman mercenary guards for caravans in the old days.
Ah.
So also interesting to see Byzantine army as a relevant post here. There's a lot of things that are cooking here that are all leading to Brimstone Sands.
Yeah, very much so.
All of them are going and pointing in the exact same direction. So just putting that out there, that's actually a really good thing to see.
The more you know.
Yeah, that is massive. That probably also helps inform us on what type of Romans we're gonna get from Brimstone Sands, and where we're gonna need to look lore wise and dig into that. So I'm very happy about that. I'm gonna put both of these up at the same time. New enemy quest. What brings these new and ruthless visitors to our shores? Seek out Abigail Rose in the wilds of Eastern. Eastern. I'm not even reading the right words. Like that, you can't even blame like dyslexia on that. That is not the word that's even there. Like you can't rearrange the letters or anything. That is, yeah. Western Everfall.
You're just making up shit as you go along. Like,
yeah.
hey, I like. We're here to read between the lines, but I don't think they're looking for you to read literally between the lines.
Yeah.
On this one, is like.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's yeah. So, anyways, deal with the arrival of this new group. Their motives are still a mystery. One thing seems clear: this is just an expeditionary force. More will come.
Yep, they are scouts.
So new legendary weapon quests. That's
obviously
awesome.
with the Void Gauntlet coming. Like that's the thing. Like yeah.
Yep.
So there's a new quest series, one with the Void Gauntlet for sure.
Yes, and of course, legendary quests are triggered when you reach level 60, but also you have to reach level 20 with that weapon. So you have to actually use that weapon for a substantial amount of time. Players should seek out Antiquarian, Abington, and Reekwater to start this epic endeavor. I know for me, I'm probably gonna jump right on that. Like that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. Improved main storyline quest. Quests in the main storyline have been improved with new task types and quest variants, including wave events, destructible objects, proximity nodes for tracking. You'll see some of these as you progress through the story, and more improvements are still on the way.
There's some interesting
PvP faction missions.
This is actually going to be interesting. This could be quite interesting. This also could be quite broken. It depends on quite how it falls, and whether they've got like correct, if this then this statements when it comes to sort of like the development of the intercept missions, for example. But yes, control points is
yes.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to sort of PvP, like capturing the forts, it is sort of like one of those prerequisites that you really should do, because it does influence the sort of the amount of influence that you get when you turn those missions in. So the fact that there's control points where it actually specifically tells you to go and capture the fort, fantastic.
Yes, that is providing some level of conflicting objectives where all three sides have the same objective but are in competition with each other, forcing them to meet each other, because obviously to capture those forts you have to all sit on the point. So
yes, I mean sometimes the grab something from this chest and put it into that chest, would technically do something similar. But the thing is with that is, with the revolutionary, with the revolving kind of circuit that you generally end up doing, when it comes to those missions, you can end up having a group that you can end up having different groups at different stages on that and not actually end up meeting. So it's nice to have some actual missions where it will definitely force people to meet and to battle, which is great.
Awesome. Yes, I like this. Like I think that this is good. I think it's going to lead the right direction. It's going to add some variety. I think that's exactly what needs to happen. New trading post experience. This is another big one. All trading posts have been linked and are now unified. You can buy and sell the same results from any trading post in the world. Fees for buy and sell orders are determined by the settlement that you're posting them from. Additionally, transaction taxes on purchases are purchases you make are defined by the settlement in which you are making the purchase. Items listed in the sell orders that expire return to the settlement where you were posted. We actually talked about that in one of the things that we're talking about earlier. Yes, this is this should actually be on the PTR tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah, it will be. I wanted to say because when you started reading that, like it kind of comes over, like the patches already happened and this is how the game state is at the moment, but like that's not the case. Like this is what's going to be up on the pre-test realm, or the public test realm, sorry. That will be live tomorrow. So don't worry, the trading posts haven't been linked, on the live servers yet. But tomorrow, you'll be able to go to the public test realm and try out and see what you kind of think with regards to the trading posts being linked.
One problem.
What's up?
One problem. PTR, their FAQ. Can I play or transfer with my live characters on the PTR? No, these are separate ecosystems. At the time, this is not possible. However, to make testing easier, we occasionally provide our play testers with special accommodations such as instant levels, special gear, and etc. Okay, I didn't read that whole thing before I got marginally upset, but thank God.
You're about to be like, no, I need to grind all of this. No, like I saw this before. They're going to insta level you to certain, or they'll allow you the ability to insta level and get certain gear that's required for testing out certain things. So don't worry, you don't have to grind like a mad hatter. To get to certain levels before you can actually test stuff, which is really, really good. It is actually something that back in the alpha, I did mention, and actually I think I did mention. Did we mention it on a show? I don't think we mentioned it on a show, but like I definitely said, I definitely talked your ear off about like the means and the methods of getting efficient testing done.
Yes.
And one of those things was specifically this, being able to insta level to a certain point to be able to efficiently test certain things.
Yes.
So I'm so happy that they have this for the PTR.
Yes, so that's going to be good. I appreciate that they've taken that feedback. So I think some of this is actually really important to talk about. Can I provide design feedback regarding what's included on the PTR? Design feedback is, I would prefer if the weapon did X over Y. Like it needs a whole new ability that does this other thing. That's design feedback. So an example of design feedback. Preview game builds on the PTR are finished with their core development and are in their final stage of testing and bug fixing. Our main focus at this phase, wow. Words are not my friend tonight, guys. Our main focus at this phase is improving quality, although we will appreciate any feedback you have to share. Basically, if it's a bug fix, they're going to listen to you pretty heavily. If it's a, hey, I would love if this did something entirely different than what it does, they might note it for a later version, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to build a candidate build to release to the live servers. i.e. it's almost done, and they don't want to go back to the workshop for everything.
But they do want you guys to go in there and break it.
Yes, they want you to go in and try and break it and see what chaos it can cause. That's the important part.
If you're a fan of chaos, go in there and cause chaos, and once you do, tell them how you caused that chaos.
Yes.
In the forums, there's a public test realm section of the forums for you to post all your juicy feedback in.
Mm-hmm. So an important note is that the code of conduct still exists over there. That said, it's a little bit more loose. It's anybody who take it with a grain of salt. When it comes to like exploits and stuff like that, they're expecting you to find problems. That's the purpose of the public test realm. That said, if you find an exploit, keep in mind that they keep tracking telemetry on your character. If you find an exploit and that exploit makes it into the end game, and they can prove that your account is tied to that happening in the testing server, I would virtually guarantee you're going to slam a ban on that one. So,
or at least catch a 24-hour maybe.
yeah. So, like, keep that in mind. Report things that you find. It is very, very important. It is very useful in the process. But yeah. And of course, there's a way to hide it from visibility. So if people want this, post the link in chat there. That's a huge set of new stuff. We got a new weapon coming. We've got trading post updates. We've got PvP faction missions. We've got main storyline quests, new legendary quests, new enemy quests. Enemy variety is increasing. Enemy types are increasing. And of course, we have the public test realm, which is great. Absolutely great.
It is good. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Now, before we move on to one of our other topics here, I want to quick do the classic Twitch streamer, YouTube person talk, and encourage you guys, if you are enjoying the content, please hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. Simply put, we love having you guys. You guys are the reason we do this. We wouldn't do it without you guys, because obviously there wouldn't be a reason to do it. We love sharing informational-based content, and that's what we're going to be aiming to continue to provide. If you're interested in joining the Discord, we also have a Discord. Feel free to join that as well. It's a fun place to keep involved, and for subscribers, there's also a private room that occasionally we drop goodies in that may include not leaks per se, but information that many other people don't have. So, for instance, they knew a few days ago about the 6 expeditions that are in build right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you want to be part of that, feel free. Be more than happy to have you guys. I also want to take a moment to thank our Patreons. Love you guys. I want to thank our server boosters for the Discord, because you guys came through with a solid clutch move and enabled us to get our vanity URL back today. That was actually a huge thing. I really do appreciate that. Because there's, when you have a Discord, it's really difficult to be like capital X, lowercase o, blah blah blah. It's so much easier to be like discord.gg New World Order. So much easier. So again, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Keep hitting that follow button. I love seeing just the epic scroll of new follows. I know that most of our audience are first time viewers. I love seeing that, and I hope that you guys come back. We stream every Tuesday, starting at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we will be live for our pre-show from 6 to 7, which is more of a casual time frame where we're getting stuff set up and hopefully solving any bugs for the actual show itself. And then from there we have what you're seeing now, which is our live show, which is more of a scripted content, but we aim to cover very specific points.
We still enjoy grabbing some questions and that kind of stuff from chat, and essentially, even though it's more scripted, we do find that you guys find value in the audience interaction kind of side of things. So we definitely make sure that we do some of that in the live show.
Absolutely. I also want to hit on the fact that we are not part of the development team. We are not part of Amazon Game Studio. We are content creators like everyone else. The difference in between us and many others out there is that we care very, very deeply for the subject matter at a level that is aiming to provide information. I'm not saying that other content creators don't have this level of knowledge, but we also have a number of connections across the community over the last 3.5, almost 4 years being in this community, that we know the data miners, we know the people that are going to dig into certain things, we know developers that we can turn to and have conversations with. So those are the kind of things that we staple a lot of our opinions around, and have kind of enabled us to build out as informational of a show as we have.
Yeah.
And yeah, so wanted to take a moment and talk about that because, of course, we are, as many people might have seen, we are the largest talk show based content. You'll notice that we don't do any kind of Let's Plays, or at least are very, very few and far between, because our prepared content like this is obviously received so much better. So much better. And yeah, so with that, we've got one more topic, and this one is confusing.
Ooh.
It is not upfront. It is not easily understood, and frankly, tells me that they really haven't made a decision. Overwolf overlays.
Oh God! Oh Jesus!
Welcome to the chaos of overlays and add-ons. This right here is just
we need to
what?
be. So I'm fairly certain that both of us know, what AGS's kind of overall sort of essentially what AGS is trying to say, but not quite saying it, because they keep being roped into, what about this, what about that, etc., etc., etc. And I think the thing is, there's a lot of issue with people quite understanding the Overwolf kind of ecosystem, and what add-ons are in the Overwolf ecosystem, and what AGS are basically talking about when they're talking about specific features in those add-ons that aren't specifically talking about Overwolf itself, but what people have coded into the add-ons that they put in to Overwolf.
Yeah.
So we have to be very specific about what we're talking about when it comes to, the Overwolf ecosystem, the add-ons, and the features inside of those add-ons. Because that, I think, is where people are getting tripped up and not quite understanding what's going on, and then having to sort of ask the what if this, what about that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. This has been the focus of hours of conversation on the Discord. Hours. Yeah. Multiple hours of what do they mean? Like, what do they actually mean? But what's covered by this?
But what about this? But what about that?
It is very confusing and very convoluted, and in all honesty tells me that they really haven't made a decision on this. So let's dive into what they've said.
So I think they have. It's just they haven't communicated it well.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I think they haven't communicated it well, and I think there isn't really an add-on that speaks exactly to what they think is fine. So everyone's like, "What about this? What about that?"
Yes.
Anyway, let's go into what they've actually said.
So 21 days ago was the first post on Overwolf add-ons. There has been a lot of discussion within our community on whether it is safe to use certain add-ons in the game. Safe being a term around the TOS
moderation,
and EULA, are you going to get banned for doing it type thing.
Yeah.
At this time, we're still in discussions with Overwolf in regards to add-ons they may offer, including the use of the Overwolf New World Minimap add-on. Prepare to be confused. Now, basically, that was all that was there for almost 20 days. So yeah, we're talking about it.
Basically, yeah, we're discussing it internally. We'll get back to you.
Yeah. So
at this point, people using it are kind of like, well, they haven't said it's an exploit, so we are free to be able to use it at this point in time.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's add some confusion to the mix. As an update, we continue to discuss this particular add-on with Overwolf. For now, we have made the decision that client-controlled add-ons which solely use the position of the player in the world are fine. However, the functionality changes in a way that violates our terms of service, such as integrating other websites to determine where nodes, paths, or safe, unsafe areas of the map are, will provide an official change in our stance, and then we will take action.
Mm-hmm. So there's some aspects of this that aren't quite clear.
Yes.
Because we haven't defined too much. We haven't defined terms. Like what's here is great, but we have to define terms, and that is, Overwolf as such, the add-on to Overwolf, and the functionality within that add-on.
Yes. So that was 15 days later. Kay, so for those that don't know, Luxandra here is one of the community managers. So she's on the community management team, which is responsible for communicating back and forth with the player base on a consistent basis, and kind of cultivating the message for the game. From there, Kay is a New World developer, but Kay's actual job is the release manager. So Kay is the kind of guy who knows, what's in each patch. Pretty cool job to have. Like it's a lot of project management, it's a lot of understanding like what's going where and where things are in the process of being fixed on if they're going to hit this cycle or the next cycle, and pushing teams to hit certain things as priorities to make sure that they hit in time to be tested, to be QA'd, and then to hit the launch for that patch. So that's a pretty important job. Now, Kay comes in and adds a little bit of clarification, but this is still about as thick as mud in terms of understanding it. You got to remember there is a lot of legalese here because this is a complicated thing. And it has to do with the terms of service. It has to do with the end user license, and that creates a lot of potential problems if they go certain ways with this. So they have to say it in a certain way. So it looks like there's still a bit of confusion about the use of add-ons. To clarify things, I've linked a post below where we're currently chatting about this, but wanted to make sure that the TLDR made it to the official news section. TLDR, if you're using an add-on that pulls only your location, you are good at this time and no action will be taken. Keep watch on the official channel in case this position changes. I.e., they're still having the discussion, but for now, if you're using it just as a minimap, with no additional information past the minimap, and for those that don't know, you can open the game in the settings in the top right corner. There is a show FPS, and there is a ticker for an XYZ location set. And what Overwolf is doing is it's reading that ticker. So there's a margin of error with it, in that, like, if under certain lighting circumstances, it's more difficult to read. But it's reading that specific thing, your specific location, and then showing on the minimap for this thing to where you are on the map. Now, that is the extent of what is allowed. How you break past what is allowed is if that minimap is also using, for instance, data mined content on node resource locations, i.e. where all of the iron is going to spawn, and then giving you paths to best optimize where to go. That is how you rapidly exit the current allowed system. So if you're using it purely as a minimap, great. If you're using it as anything beyond that, showing any information beyond just the map, you can get in trouble. And they can and will ban you. How they find you is a whole different story. So no nodes, no chests, no additional information past the map, and you'll be safe. That's our advice to people. Based on our interpretation, keeping in mind we are not lawyers. And this should not be considered legal advice or binding advice. Again, we are not Amazon developers either, so we cannot speak directly for them. But if my reading of this is basically Use it as a mini map of where you are and you're safe. Use it as a mini map that shows you where anything else is in the world. Not safe.
Exactly.
So,
This is only in relation to the Overwolf kind of stuff. Like when it comes to sort of like other maps, like say, browser-based maps on, for example, New World Fans has a map that has a lot of information on with various different things. Like that is, as far as we can tell, that is allowed content for people to use. The fact, the kind of the reason why this conversation has happened on the forums is because this is overlaid, using the Overwolf system. It's overlaid onto the game, and that's where AGS kind of really has to step in and make sure that people know what they feel is allowed and not allowed.
yes. I'm gonna take an aside because somebody just spent channel points for this, and I've seen the question a number of times, and I want to answer it because I think it is actually a valuable question. Are they adding more character transfers, or is it going to be in the store? It will eventually be in the store. They are monitoring that people might want to transfer again. That said, in the short term, we're probably going to start seeing servers merge together based on if you're on a low population server, they're going to start merging servers so that they so that they have the appropriate population on them. So I would wait for that process. I know it's painful, and some of the servers are very, very low pop, but it's definitely worth. Yeah.
Yep. So additional stuff from Kay.
So this was a post that he actually linked to.
Oh, okay.
Basically says the same thing. To clarify, add-ons that read position only are considered okay at this time. Should our position on this change, we'll post in the official notice that Luxandria has been updating 24 hours prior to taking action. I.e., if they decide that, hey, this isn't something that we want to do, then you're going to get 24 hours notice. So, watch the forums if that's something that you're that you use. It's worth watching the forums. If the add-on reads more than the positions, including pulling resource locations from the game or an external website, giving players an advantage that is not intended by the developers, it is a violation of our terms and service, and we will take action. So, simply put, if it's a mini-map and it's showing you only the map and your player position on that map, you're good to go. If you use any other functionality past that, where it's showing you all of the iron nodes, you're not. And I would suggest stop using that immediately.
And I'd like to clarify that, like, if you're going to be sort of rules lawyering it to say, well, it's not showing where those nodes actually are, like, where that material actually is. It's just showing where it could potentially or possibly be. No, that is against the rules. Like, that is sourcing information about the game that's not from the game, but from sourcing it from from a group or from a knowledge base external to the game. And so
there is an argument to be said
onto the game.
There is an argument to be said for rules lawyering this, because if you manually input the locations of all of the nodes that you're interested in, then technically speaking, you're within the bounds of their terms of service. That said, I wouldn't go that far. Like,
no,
I wouldn't be that guy.
I wouldn't poke the bear on that one. Like, is what I would say. But like, yeah, from a technical standpoint, I guess you might be correct in that regard. But like, I wouldn't poke that particular bear. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Also, kind of one of the things is if the functionality exists on the add-on that you're using, even if you have that functionality turned off, I would find a different add-on that doesn't have that functionality and just reads the entirety of the functionality of that add-on is just to show you your location on the map, and that's it. Like, that would be the one that I would recommend you guys choose, rather than the one that has all sorts of different functionality but you're just not using all of that additional stuff, because we still don't know whether Amazon Games can kind of tell if you're utilizing that stuff or not utilizing that stuff. And if it's a case of they can't tell whether you have a bunch of things turned off, then they have to assume that you have all of that turned on. That's just that's just how it works. So, be sensible about it, and find an add-on that literally only has your position on the map, and that's it.
Absolutely. So, that's the big news. So that's all we've got for today's show. I want to again thank everybody. We're gonna wrap things up again. It has been, obviously we love doing this show. Thank you guys for hitting, slamming that follow button. Leave the notifications on, because we come on every Tuesday at 6 o'clock Eastern time. 7 o'clock is when the normal show starts, but we pop on at 6 for the pre-show, and then we're on until we run out of content. Again, thank you guys. If you have those Prime subs, or if you really like the content, slam that sub button. We really do appreciate it. And we are trying to provide a value for that in providing some of the information that we know in some of the channels on our Discord, for our subs and our Patreons and our Discord boosters as well.
Yeah.
So
and
again,
some clarity on things that may be a little bit unclear as well.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you guys. It really has been an awesome road getting here, and we wouldn't do it without you guys. So with that, as we always love to say, we'll see you in the new world.